वरिष्ठ नेता हैं
21 hours of business in the Lok Sabha.
और परंपराएं बनाए रखे.
If there is order in the house, then we can.
28 hours for the upper house.
आप सब वरिष्ठ हैं.
But the disrupted and curtailed monsoon session of Parliament 2021 still did see 20 bills getting passed.
ये समर्थन के साथ-साथ कुछ मांग भी है हमारा.
On average, a bill was discussed for 34 minutes in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha took an average 46 minutes before passing one.
Subject to correction, ayes 187, noes nil.
But there was one bill that bucked the trend and contributed to the minutes adding up to the average. One bill that saw unanimity, as not one member of parliament and not one political party was opposed to it. The Constitution 127th Amendment Bill 2021, discussed for 474 minutes in the Lok Sabha, 360 minutes in the Rajya Sabha, was the only bill that sailed through without any opposition.
अपेक्षित बहुमत द्वारा पारित हुआ.
And why not? Which political party would want to block something that would mark them out as casteist? The bill, when it becomes an act, will help 671 communities, meaning almost 20% of all OBCs in the country. Because this key constitutional amendment bill, known as the OBC bill, proposed to restore the power of states and union territories to make their own OBC lists for the purpose of reservation.
हम समर्थन करते हैं.
But opposition MPs, all of them supporting the bill, did point out that it would be useless without removing the cap on 50% reservation. And to do that, a caste census becomes a must. Otherwise, the bill would actually amount to nothing for the OBC cause.
On 25th of August, the Madras High Court observation on caste-based reservation has caused a silent storm in the caste politics of the country. A bench of Chief Justice Sanjeev Banerjee and Justice P.D. Audike was presiding over a contempt of court plea filed by Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam DMK party against the central government on the issue of implementing reservation for OBCs in the AIQ medical college seats. The bench dismissed the plea and made several observations likening the perpetuation of quota system to a lack of maturity of the country. Take a look.
The Madras High Court in one of its recent ruling observed that instead of wiping away the caste system, the system at present was extending action, which was to have been in place for a short duration. It then said that the nation ought to be more mature.
So it's a very good statement to say that we want a system based upon merit, but in order to have people on merit, on an equal platform, we need to bring them up there. Therefore, the balance between two broad categories, and therefore the constant attempt as far as the constitution is concerned, the constitution makers are concerned, the parliament is concerned, to take that into account and endeavor to bring people up to that category where they can do away with us.
If you look back at history, it will say the kind of steps taken by the government has given a direct result as far as this caste-based reservations are concerned with respect to education. Purchi Taleviyamma got 69% reservation, the highest in any state for that matter, and she sought for a constitutional protection of the same. The result is evident today. The 49% to 52% is the higher education enrollment in the state of Tamil Nadu, where the national average is half of that.
The bench also observed that the Constituent Assembly's rationale behind bringing reservation has been overturned with repeated amendments to the Constitution. It has also said reservation has been introduced for denominations where the caste system does not exist.
Now what is happening in the country is that by perpetuating reservation, nobody is interested in uplifting these people. There are no serious measures to do affirmative action, and reservation has become a vote bank politics.
The Madras High Court order instead observed that it was time that merit should be true determinant of who gets to avail themselves of opportunities of education and employment.
Caste is omnipresent in the Indian society. Though reservations were given to uplift the socially, culturally and educationally backward classes to move forward, in the 70 years of reservation, we have not achieved much. If you look at the composition of members at higher posts, whether it be judiciary or the secretariat, the executive, top posts in the cabinet, secretary level posts, everything. All of them are still occupied by people from the so-called upper caste. So what is the 70 years of reservation has achieved? It has achieved very little. So the progress we have to move forward on this basis. Now they have tried to bring in economics into this reservation. So economics as a metric has failed, and it is a fungible metric, so we will not be able to identify people. So it is always cultural, educational and social backwardness. Only when we give them education and give them posts, when they hold governmental posts, their status in the society will improve.
Tamil Nadu is a state with a very strong political culture of backward caste politics, and this has been very much seen in many political parties which have been formed only with caste-based ideologies in the state. And governments have been made and broken because of caste politics. And at this juncture, a suggestion by the Madras High Court has not been taken completely well by most political parties. Most of them have commented that hand-holding of caste-based community and the reservation system which has been there for them is much required even now, and an equality between these castes is still very much needed in the society now.
Much before the OBC bill was passed in the parliament, Karnataka carried out the caste census in the state after more than 7 decades. The report was never made public, but parts of it got leaked recently, creating a furore in the state. Here's a look.
The Social and Educational Survey, popularly known as the Caste Census, was conducted in Karnataka with much fanfare in April and May of 2015. Reportedly, a total of 1.6 lakh personnel were engaged to survey 1.3 crore households in Karnataka. The state is said to have spent 169 crore rupees to conduct the survey. In April 2016, the then Karnataka State Backward Classes Commission, KSBC, chairperson H. Kantharaj announced that the report was in its final stages and would be submitted to the government by June. But that never happened during the Congress government of Siddaramaiah. Now, with the BJP government in power, the Minister for Backward Class Welfare says he plans to release the report.
ಈ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಕಾಂತರಾಜ್ರವರೇ ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತ ವರದಿಯನ್ನು ಅಂದಿನ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳಿಸಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾರಣ ಕಳಿಸಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು. ಈಗ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಜಯಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಹೆಗಡೆ ಅವರು ಆಯೋಗದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರ ಸುಪರ್ದಿಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಮುಂದೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಅವರು ಸುಪರ್ದಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ಅವರೇನು ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕಳಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಗಮನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಗೊಂದಲದಲ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ.
Jaiprakash Hegde, the current chairman of the KSBC, says the report should be released in due course, but there is still a lot of work to be done.
What we understand from going through the booklet, the question is, the government can make use of it for giving facilities also. What government facilities they give, on the basis of this, they can count the number who are all deserving candidates to avail those benefits.
The reason for the Congress not releasing the caste census report in 2016-17 was seen as the party fearing an adverse impact in the 2018 assembly polls. In 2018, when a JDS-Congress combined took power, the opposition BJP had demanded the survey report be released. The key findings of the report apparently got leaked during that period. According to the leaked version, the scheduled castes form the largest community in Karnataka, followed by Muslims. This is in keeping with the trend seen in the 2011 census, when the scheduled caste population in the state grew 22.32% compared to the 2001 census. It is not surprising that Karnataka has several education and social development schemes for the community in the state. Yet, on ground, people like Vasu and his family complain of negligence.
ತಿರ್ಗಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದಾದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಬರೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಡವ್ರ ಕಂಟ ಏನೋ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಮೇನ್ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೇನೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಡವ್ರ ಗಂಟ ₹1 ಅಂತೂ ತಲುಪಿಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಹಾಯ ಆದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗಿದು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆನೂ ನಮ್ದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಆಸೆ.
Vasu lives in a small house in Chikkajala village located between Bengaluru urban and Bengaluru rural. He lives with his wife, son, daughter-in-law Shushma and 2 grandchildren.
₹300 ಸಿಗಬಹುದು ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನಿಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಮನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ.
Now the social and educational survey, popularly known as the Caste survey, could give the government humongous data about the lives of the people who were surveyed. However, it is up to the government how to utilize this data, whether for their benefit or to play politics with it.
The leaked report of caste census challenges the common narrative that has dominated Karnataka politics, that Lingayats and Vokalikas are most numerically dominant castes. The survey pegged the Lingayats and Vokalikas quite less than what is estimated now. Leaders from these 2 communities who have dominated politics in the state felt that the report would drastically change the political landscape of Karnataka. In West Bengal, it is a different story altogether. Matua community is waiting for the census. It's about time, according to them, that the community reaps the benefit of political investment it made over the decades.
It was a time for jubilation for the Matua community in West Bengal. They had just heard the news that their supreme leader, Shantanu Thakur, was going to be inducted as the minister in the central government.
I, Sri Shantanu Thakur.
The 39-year-old Thakur, a 4th-generation direct descendant of the sect's founder, Harichand Thakur, got the Union Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. The inclusion came within 2 months of BJP emerging as the main opposition party in the West Bengal Assembly election. The Matuas were the key in the consolidation of the polarized votes for the Saffron party in the state. The BJP had promised citizenship for those Matua who wanted to come over from Bangladesh under the provisions of the newly minted Citizenship Act. Then came the ministry. The OBC Act has lifted their spirit and trust in the BJP further.
মতুয়ারা এটা পূর্ণ সমর্থন করে কেননা সারা ভারতবর্ষে আমাদের কোন রাজ্যে আমাদের সমাজের লোক কত আছে সেটা আমরা নির্দিষ্টভাবে জানতে পারবো এবং নিজেদের দাবি দাবা সেইভাবে আমরা তুলতে পারবো। আমরা চাই আমাদের মতুয়া সমাজের প্রত্যেকটা জায়গায় যেন আমরা আমাদের সম্প্রদায়ের লোক চিহ্নিত করতে পারি এবং ভারতবর্ষে হিন্দু রাষ্ট্র হবে যেহেতু সেই জন্য আমাদের এটা একটা বিশেষ ভূমিকা। মতুয়া সমাজ সব রকম সুযোগ সুবিধা পেতে পাবে এবং তাদের সুবিধা অসুবিধার কথা জানাতে পারবে। এই সমস্ত চিন্তা ভাবনা করে মতুয়া সমাজ চাইছে তাদের জাতি গণনা অবশ্যই প্রয়োজন।
The Matua community of West Bengal, classified as a scheduled caste, are Namasudras or lower caste Hindu refugees who have migrated to West Bengal from East Pakistan and then Bangladesh over the decades following partition. They number around 1.8 crore, making up to over 17% of the total SC population in West Bengal.
Originally, আমরা মতুয়া সম্প্রদায়ের যারা লোক আছে তারা তো অনেক কিছু থেকে আমরা বঞ্চিত। জনগণনার তালিকা তৈরি হওয়ার পরেও আমরা দেখেছি সরকারি অনেক কিছু ব্যাপারে আমরা পিছিয়ে রয়েছি। আমাদেরকে অনেকে আবার বলে আমরা নাকি হিন্দু না। এমতো অবস্থায় মতুয়াদের স্বতন্ত্র যে আমরা যে ধর্ম পালন করি তাদের তরফ থেকে আমাদের বক্তব্য থাকবে যে জনগণনার সাথে জাতি গণনাটাও করা হোক। আমরা বিদেশি বর্ডার বাংলাদেশ বর্ডার সংলগ্ন এলাকায় বসবাস করি, সুতরাং বিতাড়িত যেসব মতুয়ারা বাংলাদেশ থেকে দেশে এসেছেন আমরা মতুয়া সম্প্রদায়ের পক্ষ থেকে বলব প্রত্যেককে জাতি গণনার জন্য সওয়াল করতে জাতি গণনা করা হোক।
In the electoral poll battle, the community suddenly realized their importance. During phase 1 of the West Bengal Assembly elections, the Prime Minister in March on his Bangladesh tour became the first Indian dignitary to have visited Orakandi, the heartland of the Matua sect and the birthplace of its founder, Harichand. The Prime Minister travelled the distance of 200 kilometres from the capital of Bangladesh to Orakandi and offered prayers at the sect's primal religious altar, Hari Temple.
पश्चिम बंगाल में ठाकुर नगर से बांग्लादेश में ठाकुर बाड़ी तक वैसी ही श्रद्धा है, वैसी ही आस्था है और वैसा ही अनुभव है.
While the possibility of caste census has raised hope, there is skepticism as well among the members of the community.
একটা ভালো দিকও আছে, একটা খারাপ দিকও আছে। তো ধর্মীয়করণ যেটা আমরা যারা মত সম্প্রদায়ের মানুষ, তাহলে সেটা একদিক দিয়ে দেখা যাবে যে আমরা স্বীকৃতি পেয়ে যাবো একটা সরকারিভাবে। লেখার সময় আমরা মত ধর্মটা লিখতে পারবো, কারণ আমাদের হিন্দু লিখতে হয়, হিন্দু কোনো ধর্ম না, তা আমাদের লিখতে হয়। কিন্তু আমরা সেইটাকে জায়গায় আমাকে একদিকটা যদি জাতিকরণ হিসেবে হয় কি ধর্মীয়করণ হিসেবে যদি হয়, তাহলে একদিক দিয়ে দেখা যাবে ভালো। কিন্তু সামগ্রিকভাবে যদি দেখা যায়, তাহলে যেভাবে জনগণনা হচ্ছিল সেটা হলে মানুষের ভিতরে একটা থাকবে যে আমরা সকলে সমান, জাতি হিসেবে মানে ভারতবর্ষের লোক সব সমান। এই মেলাটা
The Matua community is concentrated in the districts of North and South 24 Parganas, Nadia, Jalpaiguri and Cooch Behar, and they are now waiting to see what further benefits come their way as promised by the dominant political party of the country.
2 years ago, the government brought a new law on reservation. This time it was the upper caste economically backward section. Here's a ground report coming in from Bihar to understand how effective this reservation law has been. Take a look.
Maner Sharif in rural Patna is an upper caste Rajput dominated village. Youth from this village were elated in January of 2019 when the central government announced 10% reservation under the economically backward section for the general category in education and jobs. 2 years and a pandemic later, the euphoria has turned to bitterness.
कि हम लोग को आरक्षित सीट तो किए हैं, आरक्षण दिए हैं, सब समान जनरल के ही बराबर है, तो फिर फी में हम लोग दिए ही क्या है ये सर कि हम लोग को आरक्षण मतलब कम से कम कंसेशन करना चाहिए जैसे SC ST को करते हैं, क्योंकि आर्थिक ही आरक्षण हम लोग को मिल रहा है सर, तो कहीं ना कहीं पैसे में हम लोग को तो कमी करना चाहिए क्योंकि आर्थिक रूप से हम लोग कमजोर हैं।
24-year-old Amit is also worried about his employment opportunities after having earned a post-graduation degree in archaeology from Patna University. But he's not the only one who is worried. There is also Adarsh who dreams of becoming a teacher.
एज रिलैक्सेशन भी हम लोग को सर मिलना चाहिए है। एज रिलैक्सेशन के मामले में सर हम लोग का जनरल का 23 ईयर के बाद हम लोग बहुत से ऐसा जो हम लोग को वैकेंसीज आते हैं जिसमें हम लोग अपीयर नहीं हो पाते हैं, तो सर उसमें कहीं ना कहीं हम लोग को 1 साल 2 साल कम से कम हम लोग को 25 तक हम लोग को भी मिलना चाहिए सर, क्योंकि वो लोग भी वही कंपटीशन की तैयारी करते हैं जहाँ पे हम लोग बैठ के करते हैं। एक क्लास में बैठकर सर एक बेंच पे बैठ के हम लोग तैयारी करते हैं, और कितना बुरा लगता है जब उसका 40 नंबर पर नौकरी हो जाता है और हम लोग 70 या 75 नंबर लाने के बावजूद उससे पीछे रह जाते हैं।
आज हम लोग का सर समय रहते ही एज खत्म हो गया सर, अब हम लोग चाह के भी किसी चीज़ में अप्लाई नहीं कर पाते हैं, जहाँ 23 ईयर्स एज है वहाँ हम लोग नहीं दे पा रहे हैं सर, भर पाते हैं सर, तो कहीं ना कहीं सरकार को ये दर्द तो समझना चाहिए सर।
Amit and Adarsh's hope rides primarily on public sector employment, but the reality of reservation benefits them little, is what they have concluded.
Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the man who framed the Constitution of India and fought for the political rights of Dalits and marginalized groups of the country, had a different vision and mission. From our archives, we're bringing you this report of what was it that Baba Saheb Ambedkar really wanted. Here's a look.
On 14th of April 2015, the birth anniversary celebrations of Bhimrao Ambedkar kicked off with much fanfare. It would have been natural for the government of the day to celebrate and commemorate the 125th year of the father of the Indian Constitution. Prime Minister Modi paid tributes to Baba Saheb Ambedkar and tweeted, "Let us pledge to dedicate ourselves to creating India that Ambedkar dreamt of, an India that will make him proud." It was Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar who in the decades of the 1930s, 40s and 50s created, in a sense, a separate political identity for the Dalits. Unlike Gandhi, who wanted to assimilate the Harijans into the mainstream, Ambedkar wanted their separate identity to be celebrated. He himself was a Dalit, born into a lower caste Hindu family. But 2 months before his death in 1956, he converted to Buddhism, keeping his promise of having been born a Hindu, yet not wanting to die as one.
बाबा साहब का जातिवाद खत्म करने का सपना, एनाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट का सपना आज भी अधूरा है। आज भी हमारे देश में जाति को महत्व दिया जाता है।
It is ironic that while the identity of a Dalit may no longer be religion specific, it still does evoke an immediate identification of having been born low. What Ambedkar's association did was to impart a powerful resonance to the term Dalit. Maybe not in terms of heralding social change, as he might have hoped, but certainly as a political force in the years to come. And as Dalits discovered their identity and moved to the center stage of India's political discourse, they became all the more relevant for political formations to woo their allegiance. On 30th of September 1956, barely a couple of months before he was to die, Dr. Ambedkar founded the Republican Party of India, RPI, to give his Dalit followers a political identity that would strive to better their lot. By the early 1970s, the Republican Party of India had proved to be a damp squib in bringing about social and political change. Inspired by the Black Panther movement of America, young idealistic Dalit leaders formed the Dalit Panthers Party in 1972. But even this was a flash in the pan, largely confined to Maharashtra. The irony has been that while Bhimrao Ambedkar managed to make the Dalit conscious of his militant identity, he was not able to motivate them to throw up a mass leader to fill his boots.
Caste is a rather very sensitive issue in India. It divides, it unites, it ignites, and it destroys the fabric of social unity. It has been politicized, utilized for electoral gains, but in the name of development, very little has changed in reality, despite the reservations for more than 7 decades. With that, it's a wrap from me, Chaiti Narula, on the special edition of our report, Caste Observations. News and headlines continue on the other side of the break. Keep watching India Today.